In this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know if you're going to be buying a home here in Airdrie or anywhere in Alberta. We'll run through the entire process and how it all works so that you as the buyer can be as prepared as possible when stepping into the world of home ownership. And as a local realtor here in Airdrie, I'd love to be the one to guide you through the process and help you buy your next home here in Alberta. I live in Airdrie, but I serve all of Calgary and area, so if you're looking in more than one city or town, I can definitely help you find the right place for you. And of course, while you're here, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things Airdrie real estate. All right, well, let's get into the home buying process here in Alberta. Now, we've broken this down into these 10 steps and we'll run through them in order here. Those are going to be selecting a location, choosing a realtor, choosing a mortgage broker, getting pre-approved, deciding what to buy, showings, writing an offer and negotiating, the condition period, firm sale, and possession. Now, if this is your first time watching this video, go ahead and watch it all the way through, but if you are here just for a refresher on a specific step, use the time chapters to skip just straight to the information that you're looking for. All right, well, let's start right at the beginning. The first step in the process before anything else is deciding where you want to buy. And if you're moving to a new province or country, then this can be fairly general and cover a pretty large area, such as saying we want to move somewhere around Calgary and area. You know the kind of general area you want to be in, but you maybe don't have it nailed down to a specific city or town like Calgary, Airdrie, or maybe Cochrane, Okotoks, or Chestermere, for example. Or maybe you have decided on a specific city already, such as Airdrie, or a specific neighborhood inside of a bigger city like Calgary. Now, whether your decided location is very specific or still quite general, it's good to know this because it's going to help you with the next step. Which brings us now to step number 2, which is choosing a realtor. The reason I put this as step 2 just after deciding your ideal location is because a realtor's job is to guide you through every one of the other steps involved in buying your home. So it's great to have them involved from the very start so they can better serve you throughout the entire process. And one of the great things about working with a realtor when you're buying is that it doesn't cost you anything. Realtor fees are always paid by the seller, so for the buyer, having a realtor represent you in the process, either on a resale home or on a brand new build, it's completely free. So going back to step 1, if you have a firm plan to move to a specific city, then finding a local agent in that city can be very helpful as they'll know the ins and the outs of that specific area. But on the other hand, if you don't have a specific town or city chosen, then it's important to find an agent that can help you in all of the locations that you're looking at. For example, though I am local to Airdrie, Alberta, I serve all of Calgary and the surrounding communities as well. So if you're looking at, say, Calgary, Airdrie, and Cochrane as your options, I can help you in all 3 cities and help you narrow it down to your favorite one. I've seen a lot of people who are looking at 3 or 4 different towns and they end up deciding to choose 3 or 4 different agents that are local to those towns, thinking that it'll be best to have a local agent in each town. But unfortunately, I've seen that this can have a negative side effect. If those 3 to 4 agents know you're looking in different towns with different agents, then it can make them more inclined to be a bit more salesy and trying to show you why their city is better than the other 3 versus just truly being a representative for you and finding the best location for you. So whether you're looking in a single location or you have a few possibilities, it's important that you find one agent that you want to work with and move forward with. And of course, if you're not getting the level of service from that agent that you feel you deserve, then you can always go and find a new agent to help. And once you've selected the agent that you want to work with, it's important to get a buyer representation agreement signed with that agent. Now, this is a legal requirement for realtors here in Alberta to have signed by them and their buyer clients in order to represent them in any purchase. And this contract basically just puts on paper that your agent will always act with your best interest in mind and no one else's to get you into the right home for you. Now, this is a contract that we both will sign, but there's no need to feel locked in at all. Many agents, including myself, will allow you to get out of this contract at any time if you feel like you're not receiving the level of service that you require. Okay, so now you selected the realtor you're going to work with. The next step, step 3, is to find a mortgage broker. So first off, what is a mortgage broker? Well, basically they are an expert in mortgages that'll help you shop around and find the best mortgage for you. And similarly to using a realtor when you're buying, they're completely free to use. They get paid a commission by the lender that you end up choosing, but you don't pay them any fee for using their services at all. Now, the biggest perk to using a mortgage broker compared to going to a traditional bank is that a mortgage broker may have 20 to 30 different lenders that they work with, and they're able to shop around for you and find the best fit for you versus a single bank that only has their single mortgage product that they're trying to sell you. This means that they're going to be more looking at your best interest rather than trying to sell you on a product, which most of the time is going to give you the best result. And in addition to this, a mortgage broker only has to pull your credit one time. Whereas if you're going around to multiple banks to shop around yourself, then they'll each have to do a credit pull on you. Now, in most cases, in my experience, clients that have used a good mortgage broker have gotten a great mortgage product and also been able to stay informed and have all of their questions answered throughout the entire process. Now, the key word there is a good mortgage broker. Just like any service, there will be good brokers and there will be not so good brokers. And the reason this is step 3 on our list is because now that you've chosen a realtor, they should be able to recommend some great mortgage brokers to you that they have worked with before to ensure that they provide top quality service to their clients. At the end of the day, a realtor's not ever going to recommend a mortgage broker to their client who has a track record of dropping the ball. So your realtor will be a great place to find a good mortgage broker. Which brings us now to step 4, which is getting pre-approved. Now, there's a common misconception out there that doing one of those online pre-qualifying forms that tells you how much you can afford is what we mean by a pre-approval, but it's not quite. Pre-qualify and pre-approve are two very different things. A pre-qualification simply determines, based on your income and expenses, how much of a mortgage you'd be able to afford on a monthly basis, and this can usually be done just on a simple web form. But a pre-approval is what determines how much a bank will be willing to actually lend you towards your purchase. This is definitely a more in-depth process and takes into account all of your information such as your income, your debt, and your credit. And this will require you to get some documents for the mortgage broker to complete this properly. Things like pay stubs, letters of employment, statements of auto loans and other debts, and so on, and things like that. So once you've gotten your mortgage broker everything they require, they can get a pre-approved purchase amount for you and give you a rate hold so that you're protected in case rates go up more. Your pre-approval is typically going to be good for about 90 to 120 days, so in order to keep your held rate, you just need to take possession of a home before that expires. Getting pre-approved is a very important step to have done before you're out there shopping because it gives you the confidence to know exactly what price range you're looking in. It gives your agent the confidence in knowing that you're a serious buyer and that you'll be approved for the homes that you're looking at, and it will also give the seller of the home that you find confidence that you'll be approved for that financing when you put the offer in on their home. So getting this done is just a major benefit to you in more ways than one. Alright, well now you know how much you're approved for, so we'll move on to step 5, which is deciding what type of home you want to buy. Now, you most likely had a good idea of this from the very start, but now that we have a firm budget, we can really dial that in. And having the pre-approval doesn't mean that we need to be looking at houses right at the top of your budget. It just means that we know where we need to stay below. The first decision you're going to need to look at is, do you want to go out and get a new build or do you want to buy a resale home? And we can look at both options and keep in mind that your realtor will be able to represent you both in a retail purchase and a new build purchase as well. Now, the simple criteria to start the search will be things like square footage, how many bedrooms do you need a garage, and what price range do you want to look in, and things like that. Create a list of your must-haves and your would-be nice-to-haves to sort of paint a picture of what that home is going to look like for you. And once we've determined what we're looking for, we can move on to step 6, which is getting out for showings. Now we're going to go about this differently depending on if you're wanting to build a brand new home or buy an existing home. If you want to go the new build route, for example, here in Airdrie, I have a relationship with most of the builders in town, and I keep an up-to-date document of what every single builder is currently building around Airdrie. So if a new build is what you're looking for, we can simply review who may have the type of home that you're looking for. I can reach out to that builder, and from there we can get some appointments set up. And those appointments with the builders then become our showings at the builders. And at those appointments, the builder will show us what they have for options, what lots they have available, and work through what pricing and timelines are going to look like. Now for the resale homes side of things, we'll have you set up on a listing search through our MLS system based on the criteria that we spoke about. And when we're ready to go out for showings, we'll select your favorites that are available and schedule a time to go and view them. I find when we're going out for showing tours, it's best to not look at more than 6 or 8 homes in one day, as they can kind of tend to blend together and be harder to remember at the end of the day if you look at too many. And keep in mind that you may find the perfect home on the first showing tour, or it may take a couple times out to get the home that's just right for you. It just depends on what you're looking for and what's available at the moment, but it's good to remember that if the right home does come up and it's priced fairly, to not hesitate too long, as you could avoid losing the house to another buyer. Alright, well, we've done the showings and we've found the home that you love, which brings us to step 7, writing an offer and negotiating the sale. This again is going to be different depending on if you're going for a new build or a resale home. For a new build, we typically go in person to the sales office to write up the contract with them there. For a resale home, we have a standard purchase contract that's used throughout Alberta, and when we're writing an offer onto the purchase contract, there are a few items that we'll need to talk about and determine. First thing on there that we need to figure out is your purchase price. When we're looking at what price to offer on a property, there are quite a few factors that play into this. I will do a market evaluation on the home to determine what I believe market value should be for the home. And once I do this, we'll know if their list price is in line with market value or if they're high or low, and this will help us determine an offer price. Other factors that might go into this are how long the home's been on the market, what other interest is on the house, and things like that. Now, other points that we'll need to determine to write the offer will be what inclusions need to be left with the house, like the kitchen appliances, washer and dryer, window coverings, and things like that. Anything that's not attached to the home that you want to remain in the home must be contractually included on that purchase contract. And after that, we'll decide what possession date you want to propose to the seller, and we'll need to figure out what conditions you'll be putting on your offer as well. Conditions are your way as the buyer to do your due diligence on a home before finalizing up that purchase. The usual conditions that we see are going to include financing, property inspection, and if it's a condo that you're buying, you might have a condo document review on there as well. If you're getting a mortgage on the property, the financing conditions should be on there, because even though you've been pre-approved at this point, the lender still needs to do the final approval for lending to you on this specific property. And as for the home inspection, I always recommend getting an inspection done on any home that you're buying. It's going to cost you about $500 to get that done, but it's well worth it to find out if there are any major issues with the home that you either want the seller to fix or you just want to walk away from. And it's also great to know what maintenance items will need to be dealt with after you live there for a little while. And if you are buying a condo, then I do recommend having that condo document review done. This will be a review of all the condo board documents by a qualified condo doc reviewer, and this is also going to cost about $400, but again, it's well worth it to know that the condo board that you're buying into is being ran properly so you don't have any unexpected issues in the future. And once you've figured out what conditions you'll need, we'll then need to put a date on those conditions to be completed by. And in a typical balanced market, the condition period is usually going to be around 2 weeks. But if the market is more of a seller's market, then these can start to get shorter and shorter. And then the last thing to decide on your offer will be your initial deposit. Now, this initial deposit is part of your down payment, but it's paid within 2 to 3 days of your offer being accepted. Now, that's going to be held by the listing brokerage, and if you waive your conditions to make it a firm sale, your initial deposit just becomes part of your down payment, and then you pay the remaining portion of that down payment to your lawyer before possession date. And if you were to not waive your conditions and walk away from the purchase for whatever reason, then you would get that deposit back. And as far as how much that deposit's going to be, it really ranges depending on the price of home that we're looking at. It can be anywhere from $5,000 to that condo that's around the $200,000 mark, and it can really just go up from there. On $1 million home, that deposit might be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So we write all that onto the purchase contract. We've got it all filled out. You're going to sign it, and then we'll send it to the seller to review. And in most cases, you can expect to get a counter offer back from the seller unless you've given them exactly what they're looking for. Most of the things that we put on there can be negotiated on now, so that includes things like the price, possession date, conditions, and the condition date, the inclusions, and the deposit. And once we've negotiated and the buyer and seller have come to an agreement, you'll have a conditional sale. Which brings us right into step 8 now, which is working through that condition period. And as I mentioned before, in most cases in a balanced market, your condition period is probably going to be around 2 weeks long. And during this time, we'll do our due diligence according to what conditions we've got written in the contract. For the financing condition, we'll get all the purchase documents sent off to the mortgage broker so the lender can get started on the final approval process. And at this point, if your mortgage broker does require any additional documents from you, you want to make sure to get those to them as quickly as possible. Lenders are really good at taking their time at this step, so the sooner we can get documents to them, the better. And once we have everything in the works on the financing side, it's time to go and get the home inspection booked. And your realtor should be able to recommend some good inspectors for you to use if you don't already have one. And it might be obvious to say, but it's important to have a good inspector on the job so we can make sure nothing gets missed during that inspection. And for the home inspection here in Alberta, your realtor is required to be at the inspection with the inspector unless they have written notice from the homeowner that they don't have to be. But personally, I always like to be present during the whole inspection time so I can be there to see in person any issues that are brought up by that inspector. And I also recommend to all my clients that they come to the inspection as well if they're able to. Now this is for a couple reasons. One is it's going to be your longest in-depth look at the home. You're going to have 2 to 3 hours in the home, so it's a perfect time to take measurements or visualize what you want the space to look like. And second, for the same reason that I prefer to be there as well, it's good for you as the buyer to see with your own eyes any issues that the inspector found. I find the inspection reports can be pretty daunting to read through because inspectors are required to use very straightforward language on these reports. It can make the small issues seem like big ones if you're just staring at them on a PDF report. So I find it's much easier to determine the severity of the issue when we're there in person with the inspector and we can discuss it. So once we've finished the inspection, if there are any expensive issues or safety issues in the home, then we can negotiate on those items with the seller. This usually means asking the seller to fix certain things or reduce the purchase price to reflect the item. And once we've got the final approval from your lender on the financing, you're satisfied with the home inspection, and you've satisfied any other conditions that we have on there, we can go ahead and waive your conditions. Which will bring us now to step 9, which is getting a firm sale. So once you've waived your conditions, this is no longer a conditional sale, but a firm sale, meaning that at this point the sale is for sure happening. It's just a matter of waiting until that possession date. But there are a few things that you need to do in the meantime. Now the time from firm sale to possession date can be anywhere from a week to months away, depending on what we negotiated in that purchase contract. And since you haven't yet closed on the home, it's important to not make any big financial changes during this time, such as buying a new expensive car on credit or something like that. You just don't want to do anything to jeopardize your home purchase and getting those funds from your lender on possession date. So now in the meantime, you're going to have to select a lawyer that you plan to use for your purchase, and your realtor should be able to recommend some good lawyer options for you here as well. And then the seller's real estate brokerage will send out all the related documents to the buyer's and seller's lawyer, and you'll just need to book an appointment with your lawyer about 1 to 2 weeks before possession date. And this is where you're going to pay that remaining portion of your down payment as well. Now you also need to get your utilities set up, so you'll need to get your gas and electric set up and your water utilities set up through the city as well, and you want to make sure those have an activation date for your possession date. And you'll also need to get your home insurance to be effective on possession date as well. And with all that done and out of the way, you'll just be waiting around for step 10, which is possession day. Now I always like to do a walkthrough the day before possession day just to confirm that the home's in the condition that we expect it to be in, with no issues like missing appliances or big holes in the walls or things like that. Now there's usually no issues at all, but it's always best to confirm this before you're the titled owner of the property. And if all goes well there, now we're just waiting for possession day the next day. And on possession day, funds from your lender will be sent to the seller's lawyer. And once the seller's lawyer has received those funds, keys will be released, and now you'll be the owner of the home. And this will typically be around 12 p.m. noontime. At this point, you'll plan to meet up with your realtor at the house for the key exchange, and now you are officially a homeowner. So that about does it for the buying process here in Alberta. If you have any questions at all about the buying process, please put them in the comments below. Questions in the comments that are answered are a great resource to other people who are going to be watching this video, so please don't hesitate to ask anything down in those comments. And if you're looking to buy a property in Airdrie or Calgary Area, I'd love to help with your purchase. Reach out to me anytime and we can get started working through that process. Call, text, or email. All my information is in the description and I'm always happy to chat. My name is Brad Walker. I'm a realtor with Real Broker, and we'll see you in the next video.